What do you need? 500 grand? Huh?
I need 15,000.
15.
Yeah.
$15,000?
Joey, seriously, what can you do for me, man? I mean, $500 not even gonna get me started.
500 won't help. What's $2,000 gonna do? What kind of trouble you in?
I'm the worst guy. With the worst guy.
Play within your means, you risk your whole bankroll. I tell you not to overextend yourself, to rebuild. You're going to hock for more. I was giving you a living, Mike. Showing you the playbook I put together off my own beats. That wasn't enough for you.
Listen, you know, this is one time I don't need you to tell me how I f***ed up. What I need from you is money. I need whatever money you can give me.
See, that's the thing. This time there is no money. I give you $2,000, what's that buy you? A day? Nah, I give it to you, I'm wasting it. You did it to yourself. You had to put it all on the line for some Vegas pipe dream.
Hey, I took a risk.
You little punk. I'm not playing for the thrill of victory here. I play for money. But about the money, I gotta do this. I gotta say no.
It's fine. I understand.
I wonder if he really does understand now. That's a great question, because after all, I think Chris Drury had to say no in this situation. Welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey for a special. There's been a lot of these special streams that we've been doing lately. Today, the big news: Jacob Trouba is been a trade pending. Hey, Anthony, quick question: did you take either of your daughters to go see Wicked?
I did.
Okay, because ding dong, Trouba's gone, Trouba's gone, Trouba's gone. Okay. Let's go with the introductions. I, of course, by the way, I am your host, Mark Williams. There you go, right there. Joined once again by the man from the Hockey News, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Yes. Like I said, I didn't expect the Trouba move to be feasible given his salary at this point in the season, but it seems like one way or the other, a resolution's coming, whether it be waivers or a trade. So we'll see what happens here.
Well, the resolution is waiting, but also waiting is our friend from Full Press Hockey, Mr. Jim Behringer.
Yeah, not surprised by this, to be honest. You know, we thought something would be coming down this week in regards to Jacob Trouba and New York Rangers. Something was going to go down. They had so many days off. Waiving options. Surprised this move wasn't done sooner.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, this is one of those moves. When you heard it, you kind of just went, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's really happening." And that's where we're going to start right here. Once again, guys, we're going to refer to this as the A block. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey. Get $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. But the big news today, the Rangers parting ways with Jacob Trouba. There could be a trade pending. He could be on waivers. Let me just start around with you guys. Anthony, what's your first reaction, I guess? I think we already covered it, but go on.
Well, I mean, I wasn't surprised in the sense that, like, you know, the Rangers going to move Trouba. I think everyone knew, whether it be, you know, the end of the year, it was definitely happening. I just thought, again, as I said at the top of the show, given his cap hit and his trade protection, that it might be difficult to move him. So, you know, we're going to see what Chris Drury decides to do. Like, there have been numerous reports that there are deals on the table. It just comes down to if Trouba's willing to, waive his no trade clause. And it seems like if he doesn't, Chris Drury is actually going to do what he didn't do in the summer. He's going to be cutthroat and put him on waivers. So, we'll see what transpires. Waivers at 2:00. So, if 2:00 comes and he's not waived, maybe that means there is a trade that's going to be happening. So we'll see. But, as I said, Mark, on the space there, Ice Cold Podcast did, although this is a big move in the sense that he's a captain, this move isn't going to fix the Rangers' problems. The Rangers aren't currently sitting outside of a playoff spot and struggling because of Jacob Trouba. I think it goes a lot deeper than that. Mika Zibanejad has been terrible. Chris Kreider doesn't have an assist. He hasn't been good. It's Igor Shesterkin hasn't played up to his billing. So I still think there are other things the Rangers need to do, but I think aside from firing Laviolette, this is the next easiest way out by Chris Drury. It's the path of least resistance because, again, trading a Kreider or Zibanejad or Shesterkin, That's a huge move that I think would take more stones, if you will. But this is a start, hopefully, because if it's the only move, it's not enough. But I am curious to see what the return looks like. If they have to retain salary, if they have to part with a decent asset to move his cap hit. As I said, Mark, there's only, I think, just the Utah Hockey Club, the Flames, the Sharks, the Ducks, and the Blue Jackets. I think those are the only teams that can trade for Trouba right now without having to make a corresponding roster move. The thing with that is Jacob Trouba is not waiving his no trade clause to go to another country, if you will, totally on the other side, all the way out west. So like a place like Calgary, Anaheim, I don't see happening. Places like Detroit, that move would require the Rangers retaining salary because the Red Wings don't have more than $8 million in cap space. So, and that's why I said I'm curious if he would rather stick to his guns, not waive and play in Hartford, even though that's not ideal. You go from first class to riding buses and dealing with the grind of the AHL, but at least he stays close to his family. So we'll see what his priority is here. I would be a little shocked if he waived for a place like Columbus. Columbus Ohio is not close to New York. He's not really going to see his family unless on breaks, or if Columbus comes to like New Jersey or the island to play them, then he could stop home quick. So yeah, this is all very fascinating. I really don't know which direction it's going to go, whether waivers or trade, but at least for the Rangers' sake, it does indeed look like, the Trouba era is about to end.
And it's kind of something that it needed to end. But before I give my opinion on this, Jim, let's go to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody knows how I feel about this. This was a major distraction in this room. There's problems in this locker room because of the issues here with Jacob Trouba. And you can see from the leadership part of it with Trouba in regards to how he plays on the ice, it's affecting everybody. Hopefully it's not affecting the young kids because the young kids are actually bringing a nice spark. Berard's playing really well. But it was just a matter of time before this was done, right? They had to do something. I still don't understand why they didn't do it in, the summer when Drury was being cutthroat. But again, you put Barclay Goodrow on waivers to get around $4 million in his no-trade clause. You may do the same thing because Trouba doesn't want to go someplace. This isn't, friends hockey. So this isn't friends hockey when it comes to, everybody, being sounding like it. Yeah, well, my mic, there's a little problem with my mic. Sorry, guys.
Which there wasn't a problem when we were about to start, by the way.
Yeah, there wasn't a problem. But anyway, this isn't friends hockey. As the quote says, Kelly McCrimmon, I'm in the winning business, not the hockey business, right? Like, Chris Drury was cutthroat with Barclay Goodrow. Why wasn't he cutthroat with Jacob Trouba in the summer? Look, you could have made the trade. Look, we were out there in Vegas. We heard the reports. Detroit, that was the place, but he didn't want to go. He didn't want to waive his no-trade clause. And I understand the family aspect of this thing, but guys have been traded and wives and girlfriends and family members have stayed in the other place and the player had to go someplace. I get that part of it, but this is a business. Every other sport, it's a business. And every other team, it's a business. Why isn't it a business with the New York Rangers? They needed to do something with Trouba before it got ugly, and it should have started before the season started, before the comments come out and say, look, Jacob, we love you. We're trying to move on from you. We're trying to move on from you. We need you to. We're going to take the C away from you. We're going to see where the power comes from. Who's going to be the leaders in this room? We're not going to hand it out to anybody and let the room figure it out themselves. Because there's a lot of young talent on this team, and it's being wasted because guys are falling in line because it's the locker room versus management. Because everybody likes Jacob Trouba, and that's the wrong thing to do. So you should have stripped him of the C. Then everybody out on social media, former players are saying, oh, this is a bad look. You can't do this to your captain. You're waiving him and stuff. It's a business. Guys get moved all the time. Do you think Marc-Andre Fleury really wanted to go to Vegas? He probably wanted to end his career in Pittsburgh. Guess what? It's a business. There's a salary cap. Rangers need $8 million to figure out their problems, and Jacob Trouba is holding them down.
First off, about whether or not it's cutthroat, Wayne Gretzky was traded.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Leetch was traded on his birthday. I don't care. I actually do not care what Jacob Trouba thinks. Do I feel bad about this is the way it ends? You write your own story. And what everyone else could plainly see, yeah, he elected to stay. Basically, that's what he said. I want to be a New York Ranger. Okay, you're the captain of the team. That's good too. The next thing that has to come is you have to come in and give full effort. And it was plain as day to everyone. This guy was checked out. So I don't want to hear any sympathies for Jacob Trouba on this. And Chris Drury maybe gave him the chance. Man, it was the locker room versus the management. But you know something? No. You got to come in. You got to give it your all. You don't know. And it's not just to your teammates that you owe that to and management. I mean, you have to do your best for your teammates. And I'm just going to mute you for 1 second, Jim, while you get that. And there you go. I unmuted you. Come on. Jacob Trouba has been just lackadaisical at times. You saw a play last Friday where trying to remember which Philadelphia Flyer it was. Could have been Sean Couturier. After a faceoff win, gets the puck on the left wing side of the faceoff circle, goes all the way to the slot, and Trouba just kind of goes, and Shesterkin's got to make the save. Shesterkin, by the way, also is freaking out about his contract, and he should be, especially with the way his play has been. There have been massive changes for the New York Rangers that have been calling for. This is one of them. Start with this. And as Anthony said, firing Laviolette would have been the cowardly move because then you're just blaming the coach. But as the opening skit says, what's firing Laviolette going to do? That's now going to be the fourth coach in the Jacob Trouba era that this contract has not been lived up to and was definitely a bad contract before the ink was dry. Anthony?
I think, with it would be naive for anybody to assume with how many players there are in the NHL that, between waiving what they did to Gaudreau, waiving him, and then potentially waiving Trouba as a loophole, that there aren't players who look at that situation and kind of raise their eyebrow and say, that's not cool. Players talk. And that's why, again, I do think it's naive to assume that, if they do waive Trouba in the way they did Gaudreau, that it may not rub players the wrong way. And when it comes to free agents time, they kind of have that in their mind. Because, when a player reaches free agency mark, one thing they talk to, if they have families, they talk to their wife about, okay, we're going to commit to a city for 7 years. And, if you do that, it's going to be in their back of the mind with some past instances. So, again, I don't think this is going to make, no players want to play in New York. But, again, there are a lot of players in the NHL, and everybody's different. Everybody has their own personality. And I think it would be silly to think that there are no players that view this and think what the Rangers did or what Drury's doing is not cool. So let's just throw that out there because that's a fact. Now, some probably don't care, but there probably are a lot of players that give him pause. But at the end of the day, Chris Drury has to do what's best for his team, but that does come with some consequences. So, hopefully for him with Trouba, he could trade him rather than have him, be waived again and kind of go the same route as Gaudreau. But I think that Jacob Trouba did bring a little bit of this on by with himself from his play. He underperformed, and when you underperform, the consequences are this. But Jacob Trouba, as far as he goes, again, he has a decision to make now. Does he not waive and kind of stick to his guns and would rather play in the NHL, or will he waive and go somewhere and deal with it? I think if he only had 1 more year left on his deal, it probably would be an easy decision. But he's got 2. He's got 1 more after this. So that's why another thing when it comes to a team trading him, if they take on his full salary, he has an additional year left. So that's why I am curious if the Rangers are going to be parting with an asset like I don't know if they have a second round pick, but like a pick or a lesser prospect to get a team to take his salary dollars because he's not playing at a high level. So I can't imagine a team would be giddy about taking on his $8 million cap hit.
No, I agree with that 100%. I don't think a team's going to want to take on the $8 million fully if they're doing a trade. Like you said, you mentioned the teams before about, and again, you have to look at the waiver wire and who's eligible to go through it. I mean, Utah does make sense because they need defensemen, but they're going to get those guys back next year. So, again, do they really want to take on $8 million? We hear Columbus's name out there. Do they really – they have a ton of defensemen right now. They're going in the right direction. That's why it makes sense that, is it Detroit? Is it someplace else? Ottawa's mentioned. Elming Kaplan mentioned Ottawa. But, again, I like Anthony's point. Like, how many players are seeing this? Players know this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, how many guys want to come to New York and ask for trade protection when they know that – oh, well, if I have a no-trade clause, you're going to put me on waivers. If I have a no-move clause, But, again, you had this stat up before. The Tampa Bay Lightning moved Ryan McDonough the day after they lost in the Stanley Cup Final. He's like, we got to move you cap purposes. Would you take a trade to Nashville? If not, you're going on waivers. Like, that's pretty much how this business works because you have to handle the salary cap. This has been done before. The problem is everybody think, oh, it's the New York Rangers, all these guys. No, you have – this is a business. And if players see this, then New York doesn't become a destination because, okay, well, I earned this trade protection. I earned these no-move clauses. Well, how come they're not being honored? Well, guess what? There's a loophole. And maybe that's something that gets brought up now in the CBA because, we know those discussions are going to take place sometime next year. Are the players going to be like, hey, wait a minute, we have to put protection in here so we can't get put on waivers even with no trade clauses? Again, you said it, Mark. Wayne Gretzky got traded. The Edmonton Oilers probably didn't want to do it, but they had a money problem, and he goes to LA. Players have gotten traded. Look, Steven Stamkos just left Tampa Bay because Tampa made a business decision. Mm-hmm. We all didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. They made a business decision. They said, we can't pay you, and we're going to move in a different direction. Teams do that, and sometimes it's better off for that. Like I said, with Boston, with New York, they have the same issue. Look, Winnipeg had this issue too until they got their problems out of the room. Boston still has their problems in the room. You got to start moving stuff out of the room if you want to become a competitive team and more cohesive team.
And it all depends on what is still left in the room. After all, talking about Stamkos, he's one of those guys that deserve to be a career Lightning for the duration. So did Marty St. Louis. Marty St. Louis got miffed about not being on the 2014 Olympic team and demanded Yzerman trade him. Fortunately, he went to the Rangers and turned in a very good season and a good 2015 regular season, not so much postseason for the Rangers. But going to another guy where you want that advantage, or sorry, that story of playing with one team your entire career, look no further than last year, Patrice Bergeron, who he retired after arguably the greatest choke job in NHL history. And you could and it pained him. Okay, Anthony?
I referenced on the space before what Aaron Ward kind of said, and he's a former player basically blasting the Rangers. I just see Mike Rupp an hour ago tweeted, again, obviously ex-player, this is a tough business, but you can still treat people to respect. So even though they're former players, you're seeing the sentiment about what the Rangers have done now with potentially Trouba. It rubs people the wrong way. It does. It's not, it's there are loopholes, and the Rangers were allowed to do what they did with Gaudreau. He had no movement clause. They got around it by waiving him, knowing San Jose would pick him up, but yet he would have never accepted a trade there. That's a loophole that exists. But, some people like, Ward, Ruff would call that type of thing, shady or not really the right thing to do. So again, the Rangers need to tread carefully here because again, they're doing what's best for them, but at what cost does it potentially cause?
Yeah, but that doesn't affect anybody from going to play for the Vegas Golden Knights. Everybody still wants to do that right now, and they've been the most cutthroat organization around. But let me go on to this one.
But no, there's a difference. They have not waived the player as a loophole. They've traded players. Yes, they've traded players away, but that's different because
They haven't re-signed players either.
The player agrees to it, so
Right.
that's different. Mark, what the Knights have done is different than what the Rangers are potentially doing with waiving players to get out of contracts.
I'll go into my caveat to what you're saying, Jim. Go ahead.
No, I think the last time we saw this, and I think Elliot Friedman tweeted this out, goes back to like the Columbus days with Anaheim, like Marshman. I think that he was saying in regards to like the Fedorov trade, he didn't want to go to Columbus, and they put him on waivers. So because we know Columbus will pick him up. Like it's happened before. Like you said, Tyler Marchand refused to waive his no trade clause from Columbus to Anaheim. It's part of the Fedorov deal. Blue Jackets waived him. The Ducks claimed he didn't complete the trade. So, I mean, it's precedent. It's been done in this era. Again, is it shady? Absolutely. But it's the business. It is a business. At the end of the day, this is a business. And I understand the former players are upset, especially former Rangers. And we know Mike Rupp's a prominent player voice on the NHL Network, and he's been a prominent voice. But again, if you're in management and you have to manage a salary cap, and I understand respect and all this, this is still a business. Should you have gone to the players beforehand and say this is what's going on? Yes. If they didn't do it, that's wrong. But in the end of the day, in the real world, outside of sports, this is the stuff that kind of happens.
Well, here's the other caveat to all that. So Chris Drury, I do think, tried to treat him with respect when basically Trouba said he wasn't going to report anywhere that was on his trade list. So now basically you went from a 15-team no trade list to the entire league. And he basically said, look, I'll keep you as a captain. I'll see how this goes. Trouba came in, didn't really do anything. We have not seen effort. Phil has called him checked out for the last 3 weeks. And then now looking at the team that is a Stanley Cup contender coming in, they were on the short list. Right now, you don't even know if they're a playoff team. That's how far they've fallen. And if you're telling me I'm Chris Drury, I'm going to wait this out, see how it goes. No, for a player that I didn't sign this deal to. He agreed to the terms. He then circumvented those terms himself, according to reports. And then coming around and you're going to say, oh, no, they're treating him badly. Where's Jacob Trouba getting any blame in this? Jacob Trouba's going to just skate, no pun intended, on any blame?
No, I agree with that. No, 100% agree. I think he deserves some blame because, again, but it is the player's right, and they've earned the right that there's no trade protections. But you have to be flexible here. Tell us where you want to go, and we'll make it happen. We've seen it in other places. Like, teams are like, where do you want to go? We'll make it happen. Because,
and Trouba didn't want to do that.
I believe that's what happened with St. Louis, too. I believe when he requested his trade, I think he had full no move. But he requested his trade, and he said he wanted to go to the Rangers, and that was the only place he wanted to go. So they're like, okay, well, we'll have to make it happen, and that's what happened. They made a deal.
But there was a full no move there.
Right.
Trouba had a partial no move, so they could have still moved him to the other teams that aren't there. Anthony did outline ways that Trouba could get around that and force that the Rangers can't do that. But the report saying that he was going to report to whatever team that traded him, come on.
So then just go to the AHL and get buried like Wade Redden then. If you're that concerned about not going anywhere.
Mika Zibanejad has a quote on it. He said that's on Trouba, so that's a decision between the team and him. From what I'm understanding, as a player, as a teammate, as a friend and human being, we love him to death. And Quick echoed similar sentiments. So, I think when this finally comes to a head, I think that this could either go one of two ways. Clearly, they love Trouba. They stand behind him. They could all fold even further. And, just kind of just throw in the white towel, which would then be a huge problem from Drury because then he would have to blow the whole thing up. Or it would light a fire under their ass. But it seems like, the players in that room, they love and respect Jacob Trouba. And I guarantee you, while they won't say it publicly, they probably aren't happy with how it's being handled.
Well,
And
Jim,
this
what
is,
happens if there is no trade?
He
What?
goes on waivers at 2 p.m. That's the
Yeah.
deadline today. Like that's the
Yeah.
that's the deadline. So 2 p.m. Look,
Yeah.
and I spoke with guys. I just spoke with somebody because I wanted to find this out because people were saying no, he can't report to the AHL. He's eligible to go to the AHL. If he doesn't report, that's on him. But they can go bury him like Wade Redden was buried by the New York Rangers and be like, good, bye. We'll pay you to go down there. Like they could do that because the cap hit is. They could keep him down there for the rest of the year, and if he don't come back up, he doesn't come back up, and if they can figure out a buyout or whatever at the end of the year, and get the PA involved. But as if they can't get a trade by 2 p.m., and they can even when he goes on waivers, if they could still do a trade before somebody claims him.
Yeah. It's just fun. I think it just goes to show, like, as us in media fans, they don't necessarily understand what it's like in that room. And they say Trouba brought it upon himself, but the guys in that room, they truly are brothers. They truly are family. If you think that they don't care or they're not pissed off about how this is being handled, you're lying to yourself, because I guarantee you, every guy in that room is upset of what's going on right now. So that's just how it is. So that's all I'm saying. It's gonna go one of two ways. They're gonna further quit because they're gonna be pissed off, or maybe it lights a fire under them. But I think they're not happy with how this is being handled, and that's a whole other issue for sure he's gonna have to handle.
Sorry, Anthony. I actually thought you were finished on that. Sorry.
No, he's good. No, I was letting him finish his thought. I mean, look, you look at it. There's too many distractions in this room, right? And not only is it the captain, it's the goaltender. He wants his money. And speaking on the space, just bringing up, as Anthony said, listen to all the comments on the goaltending. Oh, got to trade him. Got to get assets for him. I'm not sure you're getting an asset at the trade deadline for Igor Shesterkin that's going to be valuable for you, outside of the biggest value you might get from him is letting him walk and getting, your cap space in the offseason. It has happened before. You can let a player walk. It's not a big deal. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk and recently young players have started this, we need to get something for pending UFAs. If the trade's not there and the value's not there, you don't have to make the trade. If you get something for him, you get something for him. But again, you could just trade him to trade him and not get anything for him. That's not really ideal. Again, trading one of your best players and getting nothing in return. Yeah, does it suck to let him walk to free agency? Yes, but again, it's happened. Again, it's happened before. And as Anthony said, it is a brotherhood in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
They love each other. There's a lot of respect for Trouba. Should this have been handled better by everybody involved? 100%. But you know what? The team's underperforming. There were expectations for this team. He has a 15-team no trade like Chris Kreider. You've heard Capo Caco's name out there as well. There's a lot of turmoil in this room, and I think realistically, it all started when things get leaked out about a goaltender demanding that a contract needs to be done before game 1 of the regular season. And the further the point of the save part of it, you can't come into a season when a team still has a window to win and say this is, the last crack at it, last dance, when the team's not won anything and only made 2 Eastern Conference Finals. And as you perfectly said, Mark, really didn't do anything in those games and in those series and faded towards the end of those series against Tampa and Florida, if we're being honest, when they were up in both of those series. Now, again, they won overtime games against Florida and were an overtime away from going up 3-1, but they completely wasted a 2-0 opportunity against the New Jersey Devils the following season after they went to the Eastern Conference Final the year before. When you're up 2-0, yes, Game 3, it's a coin flip because it goes to double overtime. But from Game 4 on, outside of the Game 6 win at home, the Devils dominated that series.
And really, as the way that I said it with that, they wasted opportunity there, because people forget the Rangers were up 1-0 in that series in Game 3, up 2-0. Devils really weren't getting much done against Igor Shesterkin. Igor has to get physical with Timo Meyer. Penalty called. Jack Hughes back of the net. Rangers can't put one by. I think it was Akira Schmid at that time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And then Dougie Hamilton in overtime. Flash forward to game 4. Rangers had nothing in that game. How they even had one goal was amazing. And then really nothing the rest of the series. They played well in game 6, but who cares? They didn't show up in the 2 games that they needed to be in New Jersey, where they dominated in the first 2 games. They were dominated in the last 2 games. So it's where the mental side of this game is important. And I just, you don't see it with this core. That's why the core needs to be changed.
I 100% agree. I mean, I think, it starts here, and it starts with Trouba, and it starts from moving on your captain. And again, they've moved on from captains before. Again, this is just a different way of doing it because they didn't, I mean, I believe Callahan, McDonough was part of the St. Louis package, or Callahan, one of them, right?
Callahan was St. Louis and 2 conditional first-round picks. Actually, I think it was 2 conditional second-round picks to become first-round picks if they made the Stanley Cup Finals.
Gotcha.
DP, thank you very much. Then McDonough was it with JT Miller for Nemestikov, Brett Howden, Weaver Hayek, and a first-round pick that then ended up becoming Keandre Miller. Oh, no, sorry. The first-round pick from Tampa ended up being Nils Lundqvist. So I just want to address this one because I saw this tweet the other day of, Jim Gorton and John Davidson had a plan, and then Dolan had to step in and get rid of it. Was the plan to get totally fleeced by Steve Yzerman? Was the plan to draft Elias Anderson and get nothing out of him? Granted, he ended up becoming Will Cooley now. Was the plan just wasting a first and second overall pick for guys to promote guys like Ryan Strome? Please, there was no plan. There was no plan.
No.
There was no plan. Sound like Jerry Seinfeld over here.
I will say this, and you guys can agree to disagree with me on this, and that's totally okay. My personal opinion on the matter was that I think James Dolan's expectations of what that team should have been going into the 2021 season, the COVID 56 game season, coming out of the COVID shortened regular season in 2019-20 were too high because the Rangers were in the bubble playoff. I think they were missing had COVID not happened and the regular season doesn't get stopped. And then the expectations were, we got to be in the playoffs. We were there that year. I think the plan was like they were on the right track. And then to me, again, it's just my opinion. I think the owner came in, had some outside noise, had some familiar voices in his ear, said, hey, you should be doing more than what you're doing. And here we are. Now, I granted the drafting was not great, but some of these picks and these problems became other players, which is good for the Rangers. But I do think things got accelerated because of hope and because the league expanded to 24 teams that year.
Yeah, James, we're working on the audio. It's a lot better than what it was at the time.
Yeah.
I think Trouba's the best shot at him waiving is probably to Detroit, only because that's where he's from. The only thing is Detroit has $2.4 million worth of cap space right now. So for him to go to the Red Wings, it would take some either heavy retention on the Rangers' part, or it would probably, maybe a guy like Ben Sherratt would have to.
Yeah, that's who I was going to say.
Which, I mean, Ben Sherratt has, same as Trouba, he's got another year left, so it would be similar in that regard. But I think that's the best case for a Trouba to the Red Wings deal happening by Ben Sherratt going the other way. Other than that, like I said, the most salary you can retain is 50%. So you have seen cases around the trade deadline where a third team gets involved. and they retain another 25%, and then you get a total of 75% retention. Could that be something that's at play too? It could, but again, I think the Red Wings is probably the best bet for Trouba waiving. I hear talks about Columbus. Again, Columbus can take on his whole cap hit right now. But if the Blue Jackets take on his whole cap, I think that would require the Rangers adding a significant asset to Columbus for literally taking the whole contract off their hands. What that would be, I don't know. The Rangers do not have a second round pick for actually 2025, 2026, or 2027. They don't have a second round pick. So, you're talking either a first or, like you said, a lesser prospect. But I think for the Rangers to get a team to take his whole cap hit, it might hurt them in what they have to give up to make that happen.
And Anthony, I do believe that they don't have a third round pick this year or next, correct?
They do in 2026. They do not have a third round pick either. Matter of fact, they don't have a fourth round pick either. So they have their first round pick and then a 5, a 6, and a 7. So again, in terms of draft capital, they don't have much assets other than first rounders to entice teams with. Would you be okay with the Rangers giving up a first for a team like Columbus to take Trouba's whole contract? I mean, that's something that.
Honestly, I'd rather have him playing in Hartford then. That's what I would say. Go to Hartford. You can play there. You can figure it out. If we recall you and somebody ends up picking you up, I think half the salary comes off the books.
What?
If he's recalled by the Rangers after being waived?
No.
And he's picked up by another team?
No. It would be not it's.
Well, I'm trying to remember because the Sean Avery was paid by the Rangers and the Stars years ago.
There's no re-entry waivers anymore. That was did with the last CBA.
Okay, my bad.
But I think for the Rangers to get rid of his whole salary, I think they're going to have to give up. They're going to have to give up a piece because he's not playing at the top of his game, and he has an additional year left. So, and I could be wrong, but if a general manager did the Rangers a favor and took his whole salary and didn't require an asset that made Drury kind of cringe, I would be that kudos for Drury because giving, like I said, taking on Trouba for what he is right now, that would be insane to me.
And this is why it's always great whenever I got the guys that know more about the CBA than I do. So that way I don't ask about the rule and forget about when they got rid of that. But Romanello is asking right here, guys, as a bar talk topic, Trouba leaving brings the room together. Start with you, Jim. What do you think?
Shot. I think that would be for me because you got to see it. You haven't seen everything that's come out the last couple of weeks. We haven't seen it. So to me, I'm going Shot.
Anthony?
So what's Trouba leaving brings the room together? No. It's a shot. You just heard what I said about the players. The players are it's a shot.
Yeah, and guys, since we're doing it as a bar talk, let's make it a hat trick. Right now, this is definitely a shot, guys, because there are a lot of people in there that are unhappy about that. There might be a couple guys that might silently be happy, but also might be starting to think, am I next? So that's why it's that's why it's way too early to think about anyone else getting the C. Do not put the C on anyone else. We discussed this a couple weeks ago. Are the Rangers broken? Because you can't, if you strip the C off of somebody, you can't just put it on somebody else. You gotta let some time healed on that wound. But this move had to happen because Trouba was a third pairing defenseman when the playoffs started last year. And then the team decided to kind of go back to him once again. And it just has not worked. Nothing has worked with his contract. And it still hasn't worked. again, I'll see it to you guys. And I just want to say, everybody, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and leave us a like. Thank you to the 400 of you watching right now. We do a weekly show every Wednesday.
All right, so I have to say something. So if everybody saw in my head, I was scrolling because Larry Brooks put out a column like literally before. The Rangers are interested in Brady Tkachuk. Okay, that's all well and good. He's also the captain of the Ottawa Senators. Yes, I understand he doesn't have any trade protection this year, and it kicks in July 1st. I'm going to be straight up as humanly possible. The Ottawa Senators are not trading Brady Tkachuk right now when they are still in the mix of everything.
Yeah,
And-
and also Ranger fans, you're not gonna like what the cost would be to get Brady Tkachuk. You're not getting Tkachuk for a bag of magic beans. You know, like Brennan Othman.
Alexis Lafreniere probably would go back.
And a first round pick. Like if you're trading for Brady Tkachuk, you're probably giving up Gabriel Perreault to start. Or Romanel saying, yeah, maybe even Will Cooley.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not going to get him for anybody that doesn't make you, like be like, oh man, that's tough. So he would cost an arm and a leg.
It's also, why would Ottawa trade Brady Tkachuk at this point of the season? Like, I know they're not doing anything, and again, Ottawa.
I think what's going to happen is he's going to go the way of his brother in Matthew. He's going to get tired of playing on a team that's not having success. That also happens to be a Canadian market. You remember, he's an American boy. He wants to play for a winner. So I do think this is inevitably ending up with Brady Tkachuk forcing his way out of Ottawa. But I would say that's not going to happen until the offseason at the earliest. The Senators aren't trading Brady Tkachuk right now.
And also, he's got to go to the Senators and say, hey, I'm tired of losing and I'm tired of not, progressing. Like, there's still a lot of season left right now. And I think by the end of the season, if things don't turn around, I could see it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I could see it.
Yeah.
Now, one question I do have for you guys, we're going to try to go for another 18 minutes, maybe. Thank you to the 400 of you guys watching right now. But are there more moves that you could see coming and soon?
There's got to be, because like I said, the Rangers aren't where they are right now because of Jacob Trouba. Yes, sure, Trouba hasn't been good, but the Rangers, it goes much deeper than that. Quick's been good, but Igor hasn't been very good. Zibanejad has sucked. Kreider has sucked. Trocheck has underperformed from what he did last year. Even Lafreniere has slowed down since he got paid. So the Rangers, with their problems, run much deeper than Jacob Trouba. So if Drury thinks just getting rid of Trouba is going to cure everything, he's horribly wrong. So if I were a Ranger fan and moving Trouba was the only move, I would be, I get it. Most want him gone, so you're happy. But if he's the only move, I wouldn't be content with that. Something needs to be changed with this team, and it runs deeper than Jacob Trouba. I'm talking Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad. Molly Walker said before that despite Zibanejad being on the block, he hasn't, at this moment yet, he hasn't waived his trade protection. So that's a move where if Chris Drury was able to convince Zibanejad to waive his no movement clause, that's a big move where I'd be like, wow, he's serious about, changing this team up in a big way. Moving Jacob Trouba isn't, while it's a big move in the sense that he's the captain, it's not really going to affect a ton on the ice when it results to wins and losses.
Jim, what move do you think might come next?
Well, I think, the names have been out there. It's Capo Caco. He's a name that's out there, but he's kind of start finding a role playing, the center role, and he's having probably one of his best seasons as a Ranger. And ironic now that they want to trade him, considering all the speculation in the summer about him. and he just took took his contract, and then obviously Miller's name is out there. Lindgren's a UFA at the end of the year. Is he going to walk? What are they going to do with him? I agree with Anthony though. If you're going to make another seismic shift, you're going to have to trade Mika Zibanejad. I mean, right now he hasn't traded, moved his no trade protection, but that doesn't mean teams aren't interested or teams aren't calling. Like, say for instance, let's play the hypothetical game. Say the Rangers did want to reunite with JT Miller. Reunions usually don't happen, and they don't really work out well outside of McDonough and Tampa, but he never wanted to leave. Say it happens, Zibanejad's going to have to go back the other way to make the money work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but also, as I keep on saying, been saying this for a while, Igor Shesterkin's not going to re-sign. You're right now not a Stanley Cup contender. Sorry, Ranger fans, they're not a Stanley Cup contender right now. You have to look into trading Igor Shesterkin now. This isn't a wait till the deadline thing. Goalie trades of this magnitude has not been happening since the 2014 season with Ryan Miller, and it has to happen. And as I think it was
that return was okay. Like, it wasn't great.
Right. And that's another thing too. You decrease the return the longer you go with this. The other thing about it is, he wants $12 million. The Rangers can't pay him. They cannot do it. They did it with Lundqvist, and as I diagrammed on one of my articles on X, you can't do it. There's no way you could do it. Now, you could say, hope he goes to the Oilers. Yeah. I mean, maybe. Who knows if that's going to fix everything over there? Maybe that finally gets McDavid a cup.
So Darren Dreger just said 3 minutes ago that Columbus, Detroit, Anaheim, among the crop of teams circling around Trouba and the Rangers, complicated. And this last one, nothing going on between the Rangers and Senators, zilch. So that should put some put a little bit of cold water on any type
on the
of
Brady Tkachuk talk, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so it's funny J.E. says that. Darren Dreger says that there's nothing going on between the Rangers and Senators, zilch. So
yeah, I don't see it happening. I still don't. But who knows? Maybe there could be something, but I doubt it. But as Steven's saying right here, Shesterkin's not worth that money. So if that's the case, but again, Randy, it doesn't matter who's replacing him. You find another guy. And I keep bringing this up over and over again. The guy that's proved that you don't need, Igor needs to sign for 13.5 in New York City. Jeez, no, the hell no. But the guy that proved that you can win a Stanley Cup with a goalie that's really inexperienced or whatever, Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill had 27 games played in the season before winning a Stanley Cup. That was his max. And Igor Shesterkin's only played like 55 to 58, and he needs a mental reset all the time. Rangers have to move on from him.
I will say this about the goaltending. You better have a damn good defense in front of you like Vegas, and that's tall and physical, that could protect your goalie. I mean, Hill came up with the saves that he needed to make in the final. He did, and throughout that run, and he's still doing it. But Anthony knows. Look at those big boys out in Vegas. 6'4", 240. Like, you want to go up against those guys? Like, I wouldn't. Like, that's a good defense right there. Same thing with Colorado when Darcy Kemper was there. Their defense was good enough and their offense was good enough to outscore the problem in net. Because when you got to Kemper, you could win games. And that's the difference. Look, Stuart Skinner, and it wasn't Stuart Skinner's fault that the Edmonton Oilers lost. He's going to be put in this mix. The Oilers lost by a goal. They couldn't score. They lost 2-1 Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Like, let's just put it on what it is. Florida locked it down and figured out how to play defense again for one game and won the series.
And just before I throw this over to you, Anthony, I'll throw this out there. Why not ask Chicago how much it would cost to get Alec Martinez and Peter Mrazek right now? They're not winning with them. There's a veteran defenseman plus a veteran goaltender. Anthony, over to you.
Yeah, in regards to Igor, I do agree. I think given how the Rangers are looking more like a a bubble playoff team rather than a cup contender, given his pending UFA status, I think the move is to trade him now. But it's not, it's not happening. There's no way that I don't even think Dolan would allow Drury to trade Igor Shesterkin right now. So, any type of talk about Igor going anywhere right now is just it's just not going to happen. So, I mean, with that said, if come the trade deadline time and the Rangers are still a bubble team, I mean, maybe, but right now I would say there's a 0% chance they move him because the organization still likely believes in him and probably want to re-sign him, even though, as Phil could say, that's the wrong move. You don't re-sign a goalie who's going to be 30 for 8 years when you're possibly going to retool. So I think that would be a bad move. But for now, yeah, Igor's the goalie. He's not going to move. Doesn't mean it's the right move, though. Chris Drury should get something for him when he can. But,
because he's not going to stay. He's not going to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people say that, maybe he's asking for as much as he's asking for. It's because he doesn't want to be there. And that's his way of basically saying it by asking for an obscene amount of money. I don't know how much I buy into that. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be possible that he wants to, he wants to be out. I know there's the stereotype that Russian players like to be in big cities, like Panarin wanted to be in New York or Florida on a beach somewhere. Maybe Igor wants to be somewhere quieter, I don't know, but that's just speculation. But yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as why he hasn't re-signed. Maybe he wants to test the market and see where else he can play. But, for now, I highly doubt he's going anywhere.
I would actually try to get him permission to talk to other teams. Like you talk about a quiet city. How about Utah? Utah, they could possibly have the assets to trade to the New York Rangers right now. I mean, Connor Ingram, Carl Vejmelka, there's a goalie that could go to the net right away, possibly even like a young center or some veterans. But you looking over there, Igor would then have two of their top prospects, Shemishev and Daniil But. They're Russians. They could come right in, and that he's not the only Russian on the team. So that would also help.
Sergachev's there too.
Sergachev. Forgot about Sergachev.
So I
Yeah,
mean, so that's a pretty decent spot for him to go to Utah. I mean, look, somebody will hand him the money if he gets to free agency. Somebody will do it, but I'm not sure New York wants to do it right now. And if they don't, again, like I said, if they trade him, great. The return's not going to be outstanding, but if you let him walk in free agency, that's not a bad thing either because you get the most valuable thing, and that's cap space to fill holes on a roster that clearly needs it.
Randy.
Yeah,
Hold on. You first, Anthony.
Jim, usually you and I are in lockstep, but and while that's true, you get valuable cap space. I also think that you can't let a franchise player leave for nothing. I mean, it sets you back. I mean, obviously Tavares leaving didn't set the Islanders back. They actually turned into a better team when he left. But I mean, that could just been Barry Trotz. But still, though, you don't want to see an elite player leave for nothing. I mean, especially when you can get something for him. Like if the Rangers were to trade Igor Shesterkin right now, I would imagine you're getting a first-round pick, which is obviously valuable. You're probably getting a pretty good prospect too. So I think if Drury could get something for him, he should. He should, because if Igor leaves for nothing, I mean, yes, you get the cap space that you would have had using him if you were to keep him. But then, I mean, who's going to be your goal? Dylan Garand. I mean, you don't know what he's going to end up being. But I just think if you trade Igor, you could probably get a decent amount of assets, and you might even be able to get a young goalie in return that could be your goalie of the future. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer there is. I just do know letting him leave for nothing. I don't know if that's exactly the right move.
Chances are, by the way, they get a goalie back in a trade that they
would
would
probably
actually.
do that.
They'd probably do that. Now, let me also ask you guys this question: who's the greatest goalie you could think of in your lifetime?
In my lifetime, there's
Yep.
3.
Dominic Hasek, traded. Jim, what about you?
Guess. I know 2 guys off the top of my head, and I believe the anniversary is today. Patrick Waugh got traded on this date in 1995.
Patrick Waugh was traded. Igor, you're not untouchable.
And don't forget, he got lit up on December 2nd by Detroit. I believe it was like 10, 11-1. Was left in the game, went to Mario Tremblay and said, "Trade me now."
Yeah.
He did.
Now, granted, that's sort of he went past Mario Tremblay.
Yeah, he went
if you remember,
to the GM.
he walked right over to the GM who sits behind the bench. Said, "This is my last game in Montreal." Tremblay stared him down. If you could go to the footage on YouTube and see that right now, and that was Tremblay sort of forcing it in.
Marty was traded. Oh no, he signed as a free agent. He was going to be traded. Actually, funny story about that. The deadline, he was going to be moved to Minnesota and backed out the last minute.
So again, like, who is Igor Shesterkin?
I believe Cujo got traded. Grant Fuhr even got traded. Like, there's been Hall of Fame goalies that got moved. Like I said, if you trade him, you better get something good in return. If you don't and you let him off for nothing, I understand everybody's point of view on that side of it. I also see the dollars and cents where you can help yourself, maybe add some more good D and do what Toronto did. Get, like a Tanev, get an Ekman Larson, and then you go Stolars and, Joe Wall. But again, Joe Wall was only bridged, right? And then they added Stolars to be the backup.
Yeah, you would hope the deal would be better than Marty Ruchinsky, Jocelyn Thibault.
Thibault didn't play bad for Montreal, though.
No, he didn't. Nearly won that playoff series versus the Rangers.
Yeah.
But then once the Rangers said shoot high, the series was over.
Right.
But then Jose Theodore took the job within a year.
Yeah.
So, again, be careful what you wish for on that. But look, he's not untouchable.
No.
And his stats have not improved in any way since his Vezina Trophy winning season. Don't think, I keep saying this to everybody, stop thinking with your heart on this one. Think with your head. You go to the Garden, you chant Igor, be a fan, that's great. But when the game is over, you know something? This guy has not, he's regressed. He's regressed in every way. Oh, was he good in the playoffs? Great. There might not be a playoffs.
Not this year.
Yeah. Maybe not.
And then what happens? He's good in the playoffs, but he's not good in the regular season right now. And then he walks because you don't have a playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, you could still trade him. You could still trade his rights before July 1st. Like, if he doesn't get there, like, you could, like, we saw with Getzel. Like, Getzel wanted to sign in Tampa, and then, they traded him to, Tampa so they could give him the full, 8 years. But it can be done. There's ways around it. But I think if you're going to move them. But again, this is the first piece. This is the first domino to fall.
And again, I want to reiterate something. The later in the season you go, the more you can pluck a goaltender that nobody is even thinking of. Pittsburgh didn't have Matt Murray as their Stanley Cup winning goaltender until he was. A matter of fact, if I recall correctly, I think Jeff Zakoff started the first 2 games of 2016.
No,
so
Marc-Andre Fleury was there too.
Yeah, Fleury was there too at some point. But
Fleury was there at the time. I think he was either hurt and Zakoff took over and took the games there for him, and then him and Murray split the rest of the way. And then Murray took over in the final. And then the same thing happened in 2017. Murray got hurt with, I think, concussion or head issues, whatever it was. And Fleury was there, and then Murray took back over. But, yeah, Matt Murray and Fleury split the Stanley Cup runs.
And again, Aiden Hill, who came out of nowhere, basically, to win a Stanley Cup for Vegas. Darcy Kemper and Francois.
Pavel Francouz. And don't forget, Aiden Hill in Vegas, Leonard to Thompson to Hill. And then Quick was brought in, too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you can look at it and go, the franchise elite goalie has not won the Stanley Cup really outside of Tim Thomas and Andre Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, that's it.
Yeah, and Bobrovsky wasn't really the franchise goaltender. His contract was a bit of an albatross. But by the way, as I said to Jim before the show started, we went on, Trouba was an albatross for this team. This is addition by subtraction today. Now, is it going to hurt in the locker room? Yeah. Is people going to be mad? Yeah. But this is also like one of those things of it's like any breakup that we used to have. You start slow, and then you start taking it day by day, and then realizing there's something better on the horizon. I mean, I myself, I was a lonely guy. One day I went to work and met my wife. There you go. So it's something that you can't just sit back and go, hey, there's they got rid of Trouba. Oh no, now everybody's in the lock. Chris Kreider was there when they traded the captain twice.
I think with the Wild having Jesper Wallstedt as their goalie of the future, I think Jonas Gustafsson could be had. And he's proven he's at the top of the league in save percentage. He's carrying the Wild. So the Wild would have a decision to make there. So if the Rangers ever did move Igor, I think one of those guys, probably Gustafsson, because Wallstedt is younger. That could be a potential option too. But again, that's for down the road.
How about Elvis Merzlikins?
Well,
There's
if
an
you're
option.
going to trade, I mean, that's a situation. If Trouba agrees to go to Columbus, do you package Igor there as well, and you bring in Merzlikins?
Sorry, yeah, you're right. Jonas is the goalie used to play for the Leafs. My bad.
Yeah, Philip Gustafsson,
Yeah,
the guy
Philip
on the Four
Gustafsson.
Nations face-off for first team Sweden.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. What they called? They used to call Jonas Gustafsson the Monster. That was his nickname.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
This Kachuk rumor is false. Like the Senators beat writer Bruce Garrett tweeted before. He's like, there was literally 0 to the Senators Brady Kachuk. Like that's not happening. We all need to pump the brakes there. The Senators aren't moving Brady Kachuk.
Yeah.
I said this on Twitter earlier today before the Trouba stuff hit, when the Kachuk rumors were going around. Call me when the Rangers are on first base when it comes to the Trouba, the Brady Kachuk rumors. Like, please, I don't want to even hear it.
Yeah, and also too, like even if he was available, Larry Brooks said in his article that the package would start with Lafreniere. So, I mean, you'd be excited, but do you want to give up Lafreniere? Most Ranger fans would probably say no.
I think some Ranger fans might say yes by now, because Lafreniere signed his contract and has kind of been absent. So, I mean, put up the plus minuses of recently. He's a -6 since November 21st.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. I think this is definitely the first domino that's going to fall, and we're going to see what happens.
It's also where I can't help but say another guy whose future might be decided, I think, in the next few weeks, never mind the next few months, Keandre Miller. He's going to be an RFA at the end of next year. They can maximize their trade value with him. If he's not progressing, now minus Jacob Trouba. Now there's no more Jacob Trouba talk about him, although he was with Adam Fox most of the year and then with Braden Schneider. I mean, I'd like to know what is his future with the New York Rangers?
I mean, look, I put out something on Full Press Hockey. I said when I spoke with Russ Cohen, who's on my podcast, he thought as of right now, all you would do is bridge him because he hasn't earned a long-term contract with this team. And I kind of agree with that. But what's his trade value, too? If you can get something for him, do you move him?
Anthony, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just banned the wrong person.
Oh, okay. Who'd you ban?
Just me. I didn't. It was meant to be the person that kept saying. I'm not going to say the comment on here, but
Okay, I'll go get Just Me back on.
all right. No, I think I just think we're at the point here where the Rangers are at the precipice of making real big wholesale changes, and I don't think it ends with Trouba, and like I said before, if it does end with Trouba, I think you got to be disappointed in Drury because that move isn't really gonna. I don't think it's gonna change a whole lot on the ice. I think they need more wholesale. No more wholesale changes. So
Yeah, trying to get I'm trying to get that person unbanned. So I did it before.
well,
Ah,
listen, we're at the point here where it's 12:30. I think, granted, like Jim said, they could still trade him after he's waived. But
Yeah, we've seen that before. We've seen players put on waivers and then traded.
My gut tells me that he's going to be waived because I just don't know. Like, for instance, he didn't agree to a trade in the offseason where it would have been easier for him to get settled in a new city and kind of figure out what his new life looks like in terms of trying to see his family. I to do it in mid-season, I think that's even harder to do. Like, so that's why, like, when he's looking at his options, if you believe Emily Kaplan, some of the teams they're involved, like Columbus has an offer, Detroit, Anaheim. I mean, is he really going to waive to go any of those teams at this point in the season where it's more difficult to pick up and move? I don't know. That's why I say, like, I think he's going to stick to his guns and he's going to get waived. The only problem with that is he has to understand that if he does decide to do that, he holds strong and they waive him. He needs to realize that there is a chance a team like Columbus that does have enough cap space to accommodate his salary without moving out could claim him, and then he's in that situation either way. So then he has to make a decision: am I going to report or not? So that's what I'm sure he's weighing right now. That if he does get waived, he could still get picked up by another team. But I don't know. I'm thinking he gets waived. That's my guess. I don't know, where you guys are leaning, but I think he's getting waived.
I think he's getting waived too, unless they can have him agree to, waive his no trade clause to go to like an Anaheim or a Columbus. But those teams can claim him, and then he has no choice. He still has a choice, but he's getting claimed.
Yeah. See, Jason, I agree. He'll be waived. Yeah, I can't see him agreeing to a trade to Columbus maybe Columbus, but Anaheim definitely not. He's not moving across the country willingly. So that's why I think he's gonna veto a trade there. And but again, that's my point though. If he does do that, Anaheim is one of the teams that could claim him without having to move out salary. So we'll see what happens there. Does he take that risk, or does he control his situation by at least saying, "Okay, I'll go here"? So we'll see.
All right. By the way, I unbanned Just Me.
I mean,
Hopefully
look,
she's back on.
Like I said, Mike Rupp, I understand, has a job to do, and I know he's the one that started this thing last year in the spring about Brady Tkachuk, and he continues to poke the bear. But while I do agree he may not finish his career in Ottawa, unless he goes to the Ottawa Senators and says, "I want to be traded," it's not happening.
Yeah, and I don't think it is going to happen. I just don't. No way. No way are they going to do that right now.
You talking about Ottawa Chuck? No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had just me just there. Hopefully. All right, I don't have the channel ID. So yeah, by the way, Anthony, just want to put this one up. Well, I saw Alon put it on here. I don't think it's gonna happen because there's no way that can
What?
happen. He asked when is Lou finally getting fired? I don't think that happens at all.
As far as the Islanders go, they're another. I mean, we talk about a team that works hard, and in every game. I mean, last night was embarrassing. They did not work hard, and that was a real bad game. But Lou getting fired, I don't think most Islander fans understand about how much control that Lou really has. Um, he controls all the shots. The owners like Scott Malkin, the more of the money guy. I mean, he's based in York pretty much all the time. I think for him, I don't know how much he even really like kind of pays attention on day to day. That's John Ledecky. But even John Ledecky bows down to Lou. I mean, there's stories that come out where even though Ledecky's the owner and Lou Lamoriello is the general manager, Lou Lamoriello controls, what radio hits and what spots that Ledecky can do. So that just goes to show how much control he has. So I'm just throwing this out there. The owners aren't firing Lou Lamoriello. It's just not going to happen. He's not getting fired. Lou Lamoriello is only leaving if he decides to walk away on his own. So I hate to burst that bubble, but Lou is not getting fired. If he decides that he wants to hang him up, he had a long career and he's ready. Yeah, sorry about that. I meant to block somebody saying inappropriate things, and I'm doing this on an iPad and hit the wrong button there. The wrong.
Yeah,
dots,
which
but,
sorry, yeah.
He's basically he's walking away on his own terms. The owners aren't firing him. And also too, especially even though like the last 2 years they kind of just got into the playoffs and this year they're struggling, doesn't change the fact that in Lou Lamoriello's tenure on the Islanders, he's missed the playoffs only once, and he's taken the team to back-to-back conference final trips, which hadn't happened since 1993. So they look at it through that lens and see a guy who's had a lot of success. So, and much respect just because of who he is. So, yeah, Lou Lamoriello isn't going anywhere. I mean, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I don't foresee the Islanders ownership firing him.
No, I mean, isn't he in the final year of his deal anyway? So they could just walk away.
No, that's the thing. Nobody knows. It's always secretive with him. No one knows what his actual contractual status is.
My understanding is he's in the last year of his deal, but that's just me. But again, we don't know actually.
No, I remember. I don't know if it was this past season before the season started or last year. I think it was Ethan Sears. He asked Lou Lamoriello a question, and Lou basically just like chastised him and said, "Why would you ask such a question?" It was in relation to his, his contractual status and that, something about if he was, how long he was going to be with the team or if he was coming back. So, like I said, he controls the shots. I don't foresee him going anywhere.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure.
So I mean, John, I get what John's saying here. I mean, the owners care about money, right? They just want to make money. So that part is right, but I still think they have so much money from other ventures and the shopping and everything they're building around UBS. I think the Islanders' income is almost like secondary to them. So I don't know how much empty seats would affect their decision to keep Lamoriello. They just respect him way too much. So the guy has an aura about him. He's not. I don't think he's going to go anywhere.
Yeah. And look, Lou Lamoriello, the guy deserves to go out on his own terms. And as Anthony kind of said, the biggest subtraction in the history of the New York Islanders was John Tavares leaving. And Lou Lamoriello came in, brought in Barry Trotz, and they went to 2 conference finals and a division that they won. So, and on another, well, they almost won the division. I'm sorry. They didn't win it in 2019.
And the State of Survivor's question about Wah here, similar with Drury firing Laviolette because it would be his, gallant. It would be a coaching carousel. Like Lou Lamoriello, if he fires Wah, you're talking now. He had Trotz, Lambert, and Wah. If he fires Wah, it's not a good look on him. Then it's like, hey, where do you go after that? So no, I think Wah's safe.
I agree. I think Wah is safe. The only way Patrick Wah leaves is if Patrick Wah wants to leave.
Yeah. I don't think Lou's letting Wah go anytime soon. And plus, too, Lou knows that this isn't Wah's fault. Wah has been without Barzell, Duclair, and Pelech for a while now. So you can't really hold him accountable when you're missing, 3 really good players. So Wah is safe.
At least for now.
No, not for now. He's good. He's safe for the foreseeable future. He's not. Lou's not firing Patrick Wah anytime soon.
Well, you also don't hire him in January last year to get rid of him now. So I don't think that would be happening anyway. But back to the matter at hand right now, guys. Next 4 games, the New York Rangers. Tonight they have the Pittsburgh Penguins, who, by the way, just beat the Stanley Cup champions the other night. They got the Seattle Kraken, who just beat the New York Islanders convincingly last night. And that's why a lot of Islander fans should be concerned. And then they got the Chicago Blackhawks, who just fired their head coach. So who knows, there could be a new coach bump. And then they get the Buffalo Sabres, who the last time they saw them, they waxed the Rangers. So how confident can you be really with the next 4 games?
Yeah, I mean, Seattle's a pretty decent team. Pittsburgh always plays them tight. I mean, Buffalo, we saw what Buffalo did to them at the Garden. Chicago, we'll see. I mean, you split, all right? I mean, realistically, you should go 4-0. It's not going to happen. But 2-2, 3-1, like, that should be that. I mean, 3-1 was 4-0. Everybody want to aim for 4-0. You get 3-1, okay.
Anthony,
what?
Your thought on this?
I think,
as you said,
I think anything less than 2-2 would be a massive disappointment. Like, I mean, if you lose to the Chicago Blackhawks on home ice, I mean, that would be miserable. The Penguins, I get the Penguins are a bad team, but the Penguins can sometimes always play the Rangers tough. So, I mean, if the Penguins were to win, I wouldn't be totally shocked. Seattle, as Jim said, they're a scrappy team. They're getting good goaltending from the Cord. And then Buffalo, Buffalo played the Winnipeg Jets real close. They lost 3-2. That was an overtime game. So same thing with and Mark, you saw the Sabres already beat the Rangers this year. So
they didn't beat them. They beat them down.
Yeah, they should theoretically go 4-0, but that's not how this game works. But the Rangers being where they are in the standings, I mean, they really do need like a 3-1 type of performance here. But again, 2-2 would kind of be like, okay, that's not really good, but at least. But man, a 1-3 or anything less, I mean, then things would really need to implode there. Like you blow it down to the studs if the Rangers were to falter that badly over this 4-game stretch.
Well, let's get further into this. This is why really 3-1 really needs to happen. Never mind.
Absolutely blow it up.
Yeah, absolutely. If
2-2, blow it up. Because everybody might want to say, the next 4 games, fine. How about this? Next 4 games, we got them all listed right there. Then it's home for LA, at St. Louis on a back-to-back, Nashville, who right now, I mean, the Nashville is probably the only more disappointing team in the NHL than the Rangers. Then close out the pre-Christmas schedule at Dallas, home for Carolina, at New Jersey. Then they come out for the rest of the year with a game against Tampa, at Tampa, and at Florida. They could be done with their season by New Year's Day. Absolutely done. And on January 2nd, you get Boston and Montreal coming out of that. People, there's got to be more moves made.
Yeah.
And whoever's left on that roster has to take things seriously, because this team shouldn't be looking at that and going, crap, we might be, hold on, 1, maybe 2, 2-8. 2-8. That's no good.
Yeah.
No, I
Here
agree.
we are.
100% agree. 100% agree.
This is correct.
And again, this is where, first off, by the way, if you're Igor Shesterkin, you better step up. When is Igor Shesterkin going to be a stopper? Like a literal stop? Like, he played well against the Flyers. Great. You played well against the Flyers, but he played poorly against Carolina. If Igor Shesterkin played the game he had against the Flyers versus Carolina, Rangers win that game running away. Maybe that's stopped, but no, he's not doing that. This is why you can't just pin it all on a goalie, and you need the forwards and everyone else to step up. And the Rangers power play, which we've talked about several times, is now 11th in the league. That was number 3. So all those power play goals, you got to get above 5-on-5 then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing Jacob Trouba was not helping out with.
Nope.
No. So again, I know it sounds like gloom and doom. By the way, thank you to it was up to 568 at one point that we had up here. You guys watching?
Yeah.
Still watching us. I mean, we're in for a long stream right now.
Yeah, we are.
I'm gonna hop off for a bit. Obviously, Mark, if something comes down the pipeline with.
You know what? Actually, guys, I think we covered all this right now. This is the best way to close it out right now, guys.
If Trouba gets traded, then everyone's available. I'll kind of hop back on, but again, as it gets closer to 2, my as I said, I think he's just gonna get waived at 2:00. I don't know about him approving a trade right now, or maybe the pressure of 2:00 coming and being placed on waivers and the fate being out of his hands. Maybe he kind of
waves it, goes to a contender.
He just decides, like, I want to at least control what happens, and he waives somewhere last minute. But I think this is heading to a waiver placement at 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
I think that's where it's all heading to, Anthony. And I'm going to let you go because, I mean, there's a bunch of things I have to get done today too.
Yeah.
So, guys, thanks very much for joining us. Big Apple Hockey. We do a weekly show every Wednesday at 5:40. And always check us out because we got a lot of stuff that we're going to have on here. Jim, you got the Devils tonight versus Seattle.
Yeah.
Would you say take the over in that game?
I would think so. Well, yeah, I'd probably take the over, but the Devils are going to do it themselves because Seattle played last night.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be Grubauer in that instead of the Cord who played last night. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining us once again. We will see you as early as maybe even within an hour. Talk to you soon.